Hello, welcome to Authentically Confused. I am Marcy, and I'm a sister living on the East Coast.
And I'm Jessica. I am living on the West Coast in California specifically. So proud of my state. Um, I'm always proud of California, but especially the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I would say that Newsom has come out swinging for you guys, and I know that
Yeah.
he's definitely you either love him or hate him, kind of thing. But even you, I think that there's so many things, as far as that you don't support that he's done, and I think
Yeah.
that that's something I would like to share is that you're never going to find a politician that you side with everything on. Like you won't, and you should, and that's why it. I think that's why it's important that we should never have you know one party leading everything because there is no balance,
Yeah.
as we're seeing. I mean, everybody, you know,
Okay. And she's gone. Let's see if she comes back. And she's back. I was like,
and you're
let's see.
back. Sorry. The internet seemed to just drop right off. It said internet.
The weather's crap there, yeah?
It is. It had thunderstorms, but then it said we were done. So I don't know.
Yeah, so back to your point about not having one, yes. So I don't agree with Governor Newsom on everything, but I absolutely respect Governor Newsom. I absolutely will stand behind him to debate anybody, and be prepared and ready. And something that I found interesting is he has dyslexia. And so he likes to memorize and be prepared with all his speeches ahead of time and not read off the teleprompter. So I think that comes off really naturally for him. And that's part of his public speaking, um, kind of, greatness. But he's a quick thinker. He's snappy, he's very well educated and knowledgeable on lots of different things. And so I will always love to see him debate anybody, to be quite honest. But I don't agree with him on everything. And I don't love, our high gas taxes and different things that we have here. But like you said, you're never going to agree with anyone 100%. And it, politically, but I will also say on anything.
Right.
There's never anything that I've always agreed with any one person on except for myself. And even myself, I will change my mind and be like, I can't believe I once believed that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, think about that and give people grace
Yeah.
to change their mind and not be like, well, Harris, you said this once. And what do you think about that? And it's like, well, maybe she got more information
Yeah.
later or saw the different side of it and
God
changed.
forbid you should
And
grow.
I do that myself. I do that all the time myself in work or in personal or whatever it be. And that's part of it's called growing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we should give everyone grace to do that. But so think of, a political person as a human being. I don't agree with my sister on everything. I don't agree with my parents on everything. I don't agree with my kids on everything. I don't agree with my friends on everything. I don't agree. There's my boss on everything. There's nobody, including yourself, that you agree on everything and stand by it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, and I, Newsom has his own podcast. I have not listened to it, but I know he does have his own podcast. And I
Yeah.
keep saying I'm going to listen to it, but I just haven't done it. Um, but
Yeah.
he's
That was
definitely
another thing I didn't agree.
he what?
A couple things. That was another thing I didn't agree with him on. A couple things. Like he went on a couple podcasts that I wish he wouldn't have given voice to.
Yeah,
I understand why he did it because he's trying to reach those people who listen to that and show a different side. And so maybe it was the right choice, maybe it wasn't. I think when you go on those, you legitimatize those people who shouldn't be legitimatized, their fan base, but he looks at it like I'm trying to reach those people, because he does think he's governing everybody, not just the people who voted for him. Um, so anyways, I haven't listened to everything. Of course, we hear clips, probably hear more than you hear clips,
yeah.
of things.
I mean, I'm for him going. I think we should diversify and go on. I wish Harris would have gone on more platforms. Um,
Yes.
I think that you know we need to get out and we need to speak. And I think that's a huge issue with the Democrat, is that we want to be really thoughtful and, you know, but it's okay for everybody else to come out and just speak their mind. But if we speak our mind, then we're insulting and rude. And
Right.
I'm over that. I'm over the, you know, we there, you know,
Double
exceptions to the
standard.
rule. And especially for females, like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we can't be strong in who we are. Um,
Yep.
so and even on that, did you, I'm sure you hear it because there's clips everywhere, the Tucker Carlson and,
Yeah.
God,
Ted Cruz.
what's his face? Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
I was
Yeah.
like, Ted Cruz is a moron. Do not agree with anything that he stands for. But I was embarrassed for the guy. I was just like, oh my God, you're such a fool.
Oh, I know, you get secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah. I was like, you are such a fool. And, and I don't want to applaud Tucker Carlson because I agree on nothing that he stands for. But
No.
I mean, he had some valid points. Like, you want to go in and bomb a country that you don't even know the population and who you're going to affect. You don't even know, he knew nothing about them. And
Right.
as just a regular citizen, I don't know anything about them, but I'm not bombing them. I, as a coach, if we're going to go play another team, I'm learning enough about that other team to know what their strengths and their weaknesses are. Like, you have to know that stuff. You should know that, especially if you're supporting it, in my opinion. And apparently Tucker Carlson's too. But that I was.
So something I want to note on that is I have heard for as long as I can remember from both sides of the aisle how smart Ted Cruz is. How smart Ted Cruz is. That Ted Cruz should know better. He's so intelligent. He's so smart. And I have yet to ever see Ted Cruz be smart or intelligent.
I don't think
Ever.
I've heard that.
And so I'm like, what is happening? Like, oh, like Trump's first time, and at first he went against him, and then um, you know, he Trump insulted his wife, and
Horrible.
he didn't even he just let that go by the wayside and didn't even demand an apology, and then kiss his ass after that, like nothing. Like somebody talks about my family member, even a tenth of that,
Yeah.
and you better believe
Yeah.
they're never living it down.
Right.
So that just speaks to your whole being, in my opinion. But anyways, ever since then, it's like, oh, he's so smart and he's
He's
educated and
Harvard
he has this
educated,
great
I believe.
education.
I think
Huh?
he's Harvard educated.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and he has this great, and
Yeah.
he's just so intelligent and all of these things. And I've just like I've yet to see it, guys. I've yet to see it.
Yeah.
And he just got annihilated on there. And something that I do find interesting is, like you said, like you don't like either of them, but you were embarrassed and felt bad for him. I think that speaks to like the empathy factor that we have, right?
Yeah.
When we can watch these people that we just don't think should have any kind of power or position, and don't quite honestly, like Trump should be in prison. I have no good wishes for Trump. And the fact that sometimes I will watch Trump and I will get embarrassed for him and I
Yeah.
will feel bad for him, because I have that empathy in me in those moments.
Yeah.
And I think that must be what's lacking in the other people who watch what's happening with the immigration, or watch what's happening in Gaza, or, all of these things that can't feel anything, and think people deserve things. It's like, I guess they're missing that piece where they can't even, even your enemy, you could feel bad for when you see them at their lowest.
Humanity is
Yeah.
missing. Yeah. I mean, and we originally were going to start this podcast off and we were going to talk more health oriented, but there's still so much politically that we needed to discuss. And a huge one was the assassination. Am I using that terminology correct?
I would call it an assassination, absolutely.
Of
and the attempted assassinations.
Yes. So was it Senator, right? She was Senator Hortman.
Yeah, state senators.
Yes, and her husband.
Yeah.
And then
and their dog.
Yes. And then the other, was it Hoffman? They're very similar names. Out of it's Wisconsin, right? Because it's where Walsh is. I believe it is Wisconsin.
Minnesota.
Not Wisconsin.
Yes.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Sorry, we're like all over the place. But it didn't even matter.
This
Like,
is our second podcast today,
yeah,
so we apologize
yeah.
too.
And I mean, it didn't even matter that you didn't know where they were from or who they were. Um, these are people. These are people like,
Right.
you know, public servants dedicating their life that were killed because of one person that didn't agree with them. Like, it's just horrible. And we talked about the ICE agents and being dressing up, and this was somebody that
Right.
dressed up like a police officer,
Right.
that came to the home.
Had a cop looking. Well, he worked security, right?
Yes.
He worked security. He was a far right Republican. Wore a mask, like a fake plastic
Oh, he
like
did.
like
I
they
didn't
wear
see
at Hall.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it looked like to me in the video that I saw, the doorbell camera. But had the vest on and everything, and then his vehicle had, what do you call that? The guard thing in the front of the car, like police vehicles have, and then he had lights in the back, and it's so if you look out your window, you're thinking it's a police car, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so he impersonated an officer, and this is someone that the senator in her spare time trained dogs for the disabled, was just a good human being. Her husband was, they were good people, good human beings,
Yes.
story after story after story. Great things were said about them. This will be a loss um, for this world.
Yeah.
This is,
And I
this is a
don't, even
loss
if it was a
because,
Republican senator, like, it's a loss. Like, it's horrible.
oh, absolutely. But I'm saying this is somebody who did, these two people did great things,
Yes.
right? They did good things for the people. They did good things for their community. They did things that helped other people. And regardless of what party you're in, if you do these things, you are leaving a good impact on society. And when you're taken out like this, um, it you've left a hole in society that they were filling. And, it's of course unspeakable to their family, to their friends, to everybody, to their constituents, and all of those things. But it's also a hole in society that gets ripped, um, that gets ripped out, and it's so unfair in so many
Well,
ways.
and it scares people, so they don't want to do it, right?
Yes,
So they're
yes,
not willing to step into that light. So there's been a lot of things that have been on, with, Senator Hortman, clips for where she was stood before, and I think my favorite one that I saw was, um, where she, called out the misogyny that was in, the Senate, when people wouldn't show up, when there were certain speakers giving, female speakers giving, um, what she said was some of the best speeches she's heard of her life and most powerful. And, she called them misogynist, the misogyny in this chamber, and
yeah,
they
Alex,
they requested an apology for her statement, and she said, "Sorry, not sorry. It's not going to
yeah,
happen because this is what is going on." So again, a female standing strong, that's
yeah,
then targeted. Um, so they, according to what happened is, he went to their home first, shot them, and then went over to, Senator Hoffman. And from what I heard, and again, I don't know, this is all like hearsay, what's been all over, different medias, um, was that his wife stood in front of their daughter that was visiting
yes,
and was shot so her daughter wouldn't
yes,
be.
yes,
The terror, I just can't imagine. And they're both expected, to survive, but I mean, how, that was like the judge that,
yes.
her son and her
Open the
husband were
door.
killed. Um,
Yeah,
and it's just, how do you get past that? Like, how do you know, because of something that you stood for is now my family's in danger? And I think that's, they're winning in that sense of that scaring you and you're stepping away from it.
yeah,
So, and there were 70 names on his hit list.
yes. And he would have kept going.
Yes.
So law enforcement showed up at the first house that he was at. Um, didn't do anything because it was a multi-agency situation and wasn't sure who else was there and was also waiting for other people to come. And so then at the second house, I believe there was I believe that's where there was a shootout
Yes,
and
they
there
showed
was a
up and he
manhunt
was
at the
there and
second
he
house.
shot at them and took off on foot.
Yes. And so that's where they got the vehicle and all that. And that's where the manhunt started. And they went to the second house. Then they had the list of names in the vehicle.
Yes.
So then they were able to go to all of the houses, right? And put everyone on high alert.
Yeah. And it
And
says on there
so,
that the 70 names were including abortion providers, abortion right advocates, and lawmakers. Um,
yes.
I was listening to Pod Save America, and they had a guest on, and he is a senator. I can't remember what his name is, but it was a good because he actually falls on the opposite side of where they fall on um, with the war on Iran. So, but he was targeted on the list, and he was saying that they contacted him, let him know that he was on the list, and for 10 hours, and he said he lived far away, like for enough away, but that was 10 hours they didn't know. And at one time the
Right.
officer, they contacted him, told him to shut off all the turn on all the lights outside and shut off all the lights inside. And he's like, I didn't know if he was in my yard, I didn't know, I mean, so this is before they had him, and then they ended up getting
Right.
him. And
Yeah.
but his family is living in that, him, his wife, his kids. um
Right.
so, this is just, this political extremism has to stop. Like,
Right.
it isn't.
And so what did Lee post after? Nightmare on Wall
Yeah.
Street. And he shows the picture of the guy at the doorbell
But
because the guy looks like he's wearing like a similar to Freddy Krueger mask. Um, because it's
yeah,
bald and everything plasticky. Um, and then he said, "This is what happens," or something. He says something else insensitive, and he finally took it down after days.
with no
And
apology.
so again, huh?
With no apology.
Yeah. So again, the rhetoric, and I mean, Murkowski, I think spoke out, and I can't think of the other lady who always, those two are always together and speak out kind of
I
together.
see your
But
face.
really, huh? Yes.
When you said
And Trump said, why should he call the governor? He could be nice and call him, but what's the point?
right,
And it's like, well, the point is you can't be nice. That is the point. You're just self-owned right there. You can't be nice, so therefore you didn't call.
right,
Um, the point is you're the president of the United States, and absolutely, when there's political massacre, you should absolutely reach out to everyone
yeah,
and give your condolences and state, unequivocally that this is not acceptable in any form,
right,
and that everyone and tone down the rhetoric
right.
and let everyone know that this is not the way to solve our problems. But he doesn't.
Well, and the
And
gentleman that was
something I'm
on said that the only reason he knew what the man looked like was because of Lee's post, and then he condemned Lee for saying it and said that that was absolutely
Yes,
not okay and unacceptable, and
right,
shamed him. But
right.
I don't know. I mean, there's been so many people that have come out and said this is not, that. But everything that I've read or seen with Lee, this is his character. This is who he is.
Yes. And there was another senator who confronted him. Is he a senator or is he a congressman?
I think he's a senator. Senator.
She confronted him because she was on the list also. And when she was asked what he said back, she said, "I can tell this is someone who's not used to being confronted in person,
Yeah.
and didn't really know what to
He
say."
said, "This is what happens
So
when Marxists don't get their way," is what he said. That was the second tweet.
yeah,
He did two tweets, not just one. And he put "Nightmare on Wall Street."
yeah. So, the lack of unity and leadership from the Republican Party coming out and really toning down the rhetoric and stating that this is not acceptable and telling America that this cannot be the way, that this is absolutely 100% not a way to handle our, disagreements. And then pointing out what should happen is pointing out all the great things that this people did, and the losses and the impacts that this has on their families and the people that they've helped, and all that's what should be happening.
Right.
And to humanize them.
Yeah.
They're not, instead of being political pawns. But it was like, no, not a big deal. Like these are, and that's just another day, just like a school shooting.
Right.
It's just another day. Um, you know, but so yeah, it's
Well,
devastating
and it was interesting to
that what
see. I'll
continues
tell
to
you. So
happen.
when it happened, I did the same thing. I went on and I read headlines. So I read different headlines. So I went to Fox. So
Hmm.
the first one I think I looked at was is it Reuters?
Reuters.
I went on and looked, and it had stated that the suspect, once they found the suspect, like suspect is so and so security, security firm, blah 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 blah. When I went to Fox, it talked about how he was part of the Red Lions, like corporation club. Like it made him sound like he did some stuff with like South Africa and another, because I was like, this has to be a different person they're talking about. This isn't the same
Mm.
person. And that he was appointed by the Democrat. He was appointed by Walls. It became a political, again, like who did it? Like not even relevant at this point. Like shame on whoever. Like
Right.
why did this happen? And I think
Right.
that becomes rhetoric that it doesn't matter what, oh, you have more crazies than we do. Like
Hmm.
they're just people that just aren't right. And the fact that and this guy, he had been part of a security firm for years and had tactical training. um,
Yeah.
so he definitely knew what he was doing. He
Right.
wasn't a you know I'm going to do this and then kill myself because kind of
Right.
person at all. He was doing it to
Taken
keep
alive.
killing. He was running
Yes.
and going to
He's
keep killing.
evil. He is evil.
Yeah.
Some people are just evil. It's not mental health.
Yeah.
It's not this. It's not that. They're just pure evil.
Yeah. What I loved was that Hortman's kids came out and they put out a thing, with their grieving, and this speaks volumes to who they are, who what they had, and they were like, if you want to do something in their name, plant a tree, visit a local park, um, use the bike trail, pet a dog.
Yeah.
A golden retriever is ideal, but any will do. Tell your loved ones a cheesy dad joke and laugh about it. Bake something, bread for Mark or cake for Melissa, and share it with somebody. Try a new hobby and enjoy learning something. Stand up for what you believe in, especially if that thing is justice and peace. I mean, for them to come out in the wake of that and that be their speaks volumes to
Right.
who their parents were and what they've instilled in them. And
Yeah.
I think it's,
I mean, that's all any of us could ask as
yeah,
parents. Like that is beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
And instead, you have senators that are representing states and people and their constituents, and they're putting out these hateful,
Yep.
horrible like things. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, how did this
Right.
become okay? How is it okay to say whatever we want on social media? Or like the amount of hate that is filled in our society, I don't understand, and I don't understand where it comes from. And
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it comes from a lot of places, but when we talk about people trying to get jobs and senators and congressmen, right, it comes from trying to get votes. So that's what gets votes, is feeding off of the hatred and the rhetoric. That's what gets votes. And it's just like what gets clicks on social media, right? Feeding off the hatred and the rhetoric.
yeah,
And so it's unfortunate because instead of saying, no, I disagree with this, or no, you guys, it's even like when Trump talks about the vaccine, his own crazy MAGA base, the cult, boos him
yeah,
because they believe so hard that the vaccine is tracking them and doing all of these crazy things to him, even though he's the one that started the vaccine
yep,
and it really has saved millions and billions of lives. his own people will boo him, right? And so it's like that doesn't get you votes. So it's like go where there can be votes. And that's why they all try to out MAGA each other.
Yeah.
That's why MTG and Bobar, they fight with each other because they try to out MAGA each other. That's why MGT, what's her name?
MTG. Marjorie. No.
Yeah.
MTG.
You know,
Marjorie.
back in the day before she was anyone, and she shouldn't be anyone, honestly. I mean, she has the brain cell of a freaking lemon, but she would chase poor David Hogue around, this kid, you know, who went through the most devastating thing that any of us could go through, and shout at him and tell him that he was lying, that it was all, you know, conspiracy theory. You know, it's like, did she really believe that? And if she did, she should be in a mental institution. And if she didn't, she did it to get, you know, to get backing in a base and to build something off of lies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's the hate is, and I think a lot of hate comes from jealousy, or privilege, white privilege,
Yep.
feeling that things are owed to them. Um, and you can have somebody have opposite. That's why we live in America. So we have freedom of religion. We have freedom of beliefs. Like these are things that, as long as you're not bringing harm to another human being, I don't know why, we feel so threatened. Like, I'm in a Facebook group. So when we moved here, like, I don't know anything. Like, I'm always like, oh, where do I get this landscape, or what do I do? Whatever.
Right.
So I joined this, and it is the most drama filled. And like sometimes I just can't, it's like a train wreck. I can't turn my eyes away. And people getting mad because people are putting anonymous posts in there because like they're like, hey, I'm not happy with my employer, or I'm having troubles with my husband. And it's a women's group.
Oh, oh,
So somebody posted on there that there was a transgender, or that they were in a bathroom and that they were pretty sure that it was a male dressed as a woman that came in. First of all, it is not a cross-dresser. It is a transgender woman. And they're not there to do anything but go pee like you.
yes.
But the amount of comments filled with hate and then people coming at them, and I'm like, I don't understand that. I don't understand how somebody's choice, because they were born in a body they don't feel is theirs, impacts your life, because it
Right.
doesn't.
Right.
They're not in
Right.
there trying to look. First of all, you all
Yeah.
have closed doors. It's not like the men's urinal. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and if it is a transgender man, they're going into the stall. So I mean,
Yeah, everybody wants to flatter themselves so much and think they're so freaking spectacular that somebody wants to take a peek at them. It's like, no, Suzanne, they just want to go to the bathroom. They don't give two shits about you. You're not their type.
yeah. And I mean, this thing just erupted, and then there, so it's just, again, and so this goes, into anything.
It's ignorance.
Um, it's just we want to just, shame people, and I don't think
Right.
you should want to uplift, not shame.
But I think it's such ignorance, and I've told other people that it's like, okay, like you know, like other people have shared with me, like I am really scared about transgender people coming in the bathroom and doing something to me, like men coming into the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, I understand your fear, but that's not about transgender people. That's about your distrust in men.
Yeah,
That has nothing to do with transgender
and they
people.
can still
That's
do it.
because of what men have done to women
But
repeatedly.
there's not freaking
It's about
locks
men.
in the bathroom. Like if you're in a public bathroom with stalls, and if you're in a single bathroom,
Yeah,
it shouldn't matter because the transgender person's not going to be there either.
right. But it's like that's not about somebody who's truly
No,
transgender.
you are 100%.
That is about somebody that you think is pretending to be transgender
Yeah,
to take advantage of the situation, which then again is about men
yeah,
who are molesters, rapists, those things.
yeah,
It's not about transgender.
yeah,
So it's like, why don't we call it for what it truly is? It's about men.
yeah,
It's about men making us feel unsafe.
yeah,
I'm not, when I walk into a parking lot, and if I turned around, if it's dark and I'm walking into a parking garage and I'm by myself as a woman, And I look around. I always look around. I'm assessing the situation. Where is my car? What am I doing? Am I safe? Da 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 da. And I turn, and if I hear footsteps, I always turn and see who's behind me. If it's a woman, I'm like, okay. If it's a man, I'm like, noted. If it's a transgender woman, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference? I'm never like, oh, transgender, I don't note it like I know a man.
Yeah.
A man I am noting. And I think we need to start getting it right, ladies, and understand the difference of what your true fear is men. It is not transgender.
Yeah.
It's people who are pretending in your head, pretending to be transgender so that they can assault you and get in a space where you're feel protected usually and you're not protected. But it's not a transgender person doing that to you. It's a man pretending to be one,
Yeah.
which,
And I don't know that those occur, to be honest. I don't know any, like,
it doesn't
I
occur.
don't know any statistics that
But
said
my
that
point is
this
your fear is
person attacked was dressed up. Like,
exactly. It doesn't occur.
right.
But my point is that is your fear. You fear that someone's going to dress up and attack you
Yeah.
because you fear what men do to women.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, dressed up as a police officer, they go to answer their door, and like,
Yep.
so
Or pull you over. I mean, it still happens.
it does.
People still get pulled over and they think it's a police vehicle, and especially in the middle of the night, or they follow you out of a bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And that still
Yeah.
happens.
Well, and California has a lot more laws on like undercover vehicles that they have to be
Right.
like, so on the East Coast you don't. So it can just be
Right.
just a car and they put a light up there and you don't, because
Yeah.
undercover
Yeah.
can pull you over, which blows my
Yeah.
mind. They can hide, they can do all of it. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a lot different here. And that's why they say if you're pulled over and you're a female at night, pull into a parking lot that's well lit with other people
Yeah.
around. Um,
Well, and I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, if it happens to me, I'm cracking my window. I'm saying I'm calling 911. I'm telling them that I was just pulled over, and I want them to confirm your identity. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going to just take your word for it. And the same thing with these ICE agents. Like, to me, I'm being kidnapped or someone else is being kidnapped if I witness it.
yeah.
I am not just trusting you. I'm sorry. It's not happening.
Right.
There's too many criminals out there.
Yeah. And
And
they're not
so,
immigrants.
if you got to arrest me because of that, that's fine. I will go in front of the judicial officer and I will state that that's the reason. And then I will civilly sue you for, you know, violating my
Yeah,
rights.
for sure. And other news in the administration, um, you know, we touched a little bit on it. Was the big beautiful bill in our last one, and people that aren't paying attention. You have senators or congressmen coming out like MTG saying she didn't read the bill and note that you could not the state could not do anything about AI for 10 years or something like in that term. She's like, I'll be honest, I didn't see that. What happens is these bills are passed, and this one was what, 1,100 pages? It was huge,
Yeah.
huge. First of all, the fact that we named something the Big Beautiful Bill is like ridiculous and embarrassing and very unserious and moronic.
On brand, though. On brand for Trump.
And then, the Congress gets it, and then if there's any changes, they only have a short amount of time to go through that. And there's no way somebody's reading. I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to be able to read all of that. They're not. Like, we don't give them enough time. We have a certain deadline that it has to be passed. Once it gets to the Senate, now they have, I think it's July 4th. They have until July 4th to sign off. Or
That's a self-imposed deadline.
that is, I thought that's when they had to do it, or otherwise they have to do the for the debt.
Well, the self-imposed deadline is they wanted it all passed by July 4th so Trump can make a big thing about the 4th of July in the
Gotcha.
bill. But what I've read is that the Senate has made even deeper cuts to Medicaid.
Yes. Oh, they've changed it again. So
Yes, that is what I have
the
read.
House doesn't have to
The
see it.
proposed cuts, the proposed bill by the Senate is what I read. It will have deeper cuts to Medicaid than the House did.
Okay. Yeah, it's unprecedented cuts. And while there's the cuts being made to Medicaid, they are increasing the Homeland Security budget. They're increasing the military budget, um, and they're decreasing the tax for the billionaires. I think is it 500,000? I can't remember what the pay is um, that they're getting a decrease in, um, and this is they can't the amount of cuts that have to take place. There's nowhere else for them to come out of but Medicaid. So when you people think that your healthcare is not going to get affected, it is going to be affected. It is going to be affected for our children that rely on those lunch programs. Those will be gone. It is going to be affected by, like Head Start. So the people that need help with the after care, some of, the minimum wage isn't high enough for people to be able to work full time and have their children in daycare full time. So when they go to after school care programs, a lot of those are government assistant. It's going to cut that. It's going to, the health care that's there is going to be cut. And these programs are all there to help Americans. And I mean, some of our family members have used these, benefits to help them get started and be able to get off. And they're off of them now. They're able to stand on their own 2 feet. But this is not even being looked at. Like, this is not, there's so many things that have happened in this timeline. And, and what all started it was the Musk and Trump, falling out. And it's just another distraction. We've had so many distractions since this came out that it's lost. It hasn't been talked about.
Right.
And it's going to devastate
Yeah,
millions of people.
I mean, I'm exhausted. We're 6 months in. I'm exhausted. Like, it's been
Right.
one thing after another, after another, after another, and now war. It's like, it's exhausting. It honestly is. And I don't even for people who think this is all great, it's like dizzying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to, I do think taxes are going to go up for the middle,
Yes.
and lower class. I do know that there's going to be Medicaid cuts. I do know that the highest are going to get tax cuts, which is, I know, when are you all going to wake up? When are we going to stop carrying them on our backs?
Yeah.
They have all the money in the
Yep.
world. There is no trickle down, guys. There's no trickle down. Um, they're not paying their workers more because they get tax cuts.
Yeah.
They're not giving you better sales or your goods for cheaper because they have tax cuts. They're just making more money and buying up more stuff and buying up more houses and land and then selling it for higher and doing those things. It's not, those things are not happening. And so, like, when are you all going to wake up that support him? Very few of us make the money that are going to get the cuts.
Yeah.
I know no one who makes the money who would get the cuts. Um, when when we talk about the oil or the gas prices going up because of what's going on in Iran, let's talk about that. We get no gas from Iran.
No.
What's happening is the gas prices are going to go up because of price gouging. It's going to be used as an excuse to raise the prices.
Well, and the price of
And that is
oil will
what
go up.
the price of oil will go up. But nobody but Russia mainly gets their gas from Iran because they're sanctioned so heavily
Yeah.
already. So it's about price gouging. And if you all don't think that we're already getting price gouged from oil, look at the profit margins from Exxon and Shell and all of these companies who every quarter post the highest profits that they've ever had. While we are paying the highest gas that we've ever paid here in California, typically every time. We're not now at the highest gas we've ever paid, but we've hit it. And at those times, it never comes out of their pockets. The tariffs are not coming out of their pockets. When they tried to raise prices like at Amazon and Walmart and say that it was due to the tariffs, the Trump threw a fit because he doesn't want to take any ownership of that and he doesn't want it in print anywhere. So he made them rescind that,
Yes.
and they said they would absorb it.
Well, and then Bezos
No, they're
donated
gonna raise.
to his Trump parade.
Yes. And they are not going to absorb it, guys. They're going to raise the prices, but not call it out and why it's happening. That's all. Because who says, hey, why did this thing on Amazon go from $12 to
Yeah.
$16, Jeff Bezos? Nobody. They just decide to buy it or they don't buy it, and typically they buy it.
Yeah.
And what I have found is when we are in this cycle of unfortunate, like COVID or now, we tend to buy more. We have more credit card debt than we've ever had as a
Yeah.
country. And that started in COVID and it's continued. And we are trying to self-pacify through purchasing,
Yep.
through
Yep.
travel, through food, through all of these things. And so, yeah, sure, our economy keeps being strong because we just keep charging it and trying to make ourselves feel better. So it's all a big, facade that will come crumbling down when the job market finally catches up.
Right.
And I don't want these things to be true.
No. No, and and that's with the whole Iran, 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 Iran,
Iran,
Iran,
Iran.
Iran situation. Like I hope he's able to get a treaty, and like it's not like I hope he does, and I will still hate Trump, but
Yeah,
I
yeah, that's not going to fix anything. We already had one that he broke. Now he's just getting it back.
yeah, I
Thanks for
mean,
getting us
I
back the
hope
ones
that
that we
it's
had.
able to that it doesn't come to full blown war. Um, but
Also,
he
how much
did.
money do you think it cost us? How much money do you think that mission cost us
Yeah,
last night?
right. Have you looked at the figures? It's got to be
No,
billions.
but I mean billions.
Well, just to deploy the National Guard to California was
Well, yeah, that's a whole
a
nother topic.
multi-million. Hegseth couldn't even tell you where it was coming out of the
Right,
budget. He had
right.
no
Well,
comment.
that's because Hegseth purposely is adversarial.
Yeah,
So he purposely gets in front of Congress and will not answer questions and is smug and um is outright difficult just to be difficult and has no decorum and no respect for any Democrat who's asking him a question, which is unprofessional, and he should not be hired by any company when this is done, based on just how he's acted
so
during this time. But he knew damn well where it was coming from, and he knew how much it was. But between the National Guard at that time and the parade, we were in the whole $200 million.
out of their budget, but he couldn't tell where it was coming from. He couldn't tell them where they pulled. And while these troops were supposed to be in training, and now they weren't receiving training. Um, So, according to
Well, they're not even supposed to
the
be.
Economic Times, the
Uh-huh.
U.S. used the two B-2 stealth bombers, and it cost 2.1 billion for each. Each.
Yeah, each.
Um,
So,
yeah. So I mean, again, but
so I'm just saying, guys, we had a treaty. He broke the treaty the last time.
yeah,
Now he went and bombed to get the treaty back in place, and now we wasted billions of dollars for no reason that we should never been involved in the first place, and we should have never canceled the treaty we already had.
yeah, yep.
But again,
Well, and he's
Trump's the
putting,
best. Make America
he's put
great.
these, we don't have the people in place that should be leading and knowledgeable in the areas. Like we're in
No,
every single section. We have the director of FEMA that didn't know that there was a hurricane season. Like what? Like
yeah,
didn't know that. And by the way, if there's a national disaster, FEMA has come out and said that they aren't going to be able to support you.
they told us that.
So um, another area that's gone. Going into RFK Jr. and the health secretary firing the whole CDC panel because of disagreements about vaccinations. So now this group of, I think they want to say there was like 10 to 12 of like renowned scientists leading this group.
Mhm.
They're not there. And, there's been ones that have come out and said that we will, have deaths on our hands because we don't have the people that have the knowledge in place. Um, Everybody, and again, I was on board with removing food dyes. Like, I don't think that we need them. They're not good. But just so you know, he said they're removed. That's not, he can't say they're removed. That has to go through Congress. It hasn't gone through Congress. So that is not a law. It's just whether they choose to follow it or not. Um, and I know, like, I think it was General Mills came out and they said they would be removing it. But 90% of their food isn't even using it. So, I mean, he's saying things, but they're not implemented. It was kind of like when Biden came out and said there's no he's doing the student loan forgiveness. Like, that had to go through Congress to get that fulfilled. Like, yes, it was an executive order, but it has to still become law through Congress. Um, on the health side, again, I don't think that we're getting nearly the amount of attention that needs to be, and alarms that need to be sounding for people going on. I have several, it's interesting because several spouses that I knew, they're nurses now. I mean, they're in the medical field. Um, and then there's others that aren't. And I would say that that's the hugest division is people aligning with RFK and people not. RFK Jr. has no business leading in any health. Whether
He has
you
no experience, knowledge, expertise,
none,
nothing.
none.
Just what YouTube videos he's watched.
Yes, and it's you know Jess likes the chat GPT, as do I, and I use it for several things. I think it's a great tool. But when our health secretary, what's his actual title? I don't know, Secretary of Health. I don't know. When he comes out and he's using chat GPT um, as his, research for his argument, we should be extremely concerned because you can put anything you
Yes.
want into chat GPT to make it lean to the way you want it to. Um,
Well, also, who admits that?
well, I will tell you,
You know, the,
you can upload a document. So if you send a document to somebody, they can upload it, and you can tell if it's it
yes,
recognizes.
yes, but my point is like, who doesn't know you in that high of a position? I mean, I know I shouldn't be using it unless I'm just gonna
You can use
use
it.
it for like
You
something
just
like
need to
this and
state that
admit
you're
that I'm
using
using
it,
it.
and you need to have other
Yes,
research backing you.
but yes, yes, yes. Like, give me the sites, right? Cite me the publications on this. That's one thing to do that and then
Yeah.
research it. So Dr. Fiona Havers, is a researcher who left the CDC recently, and I watched her on a couple programs talking, because she's sounding the alarm, and she's saying that the CDC, there was a new, vaccine schedule that went out, and she's saying the CDC had nothing to do with that. That is not the CDC's recommendation. They changed nothing about the COVID vaccine schedule that went out, and that the vaccines that they are now going through, and not just the COVID vaccine, are going to kill Americans. Like, the changes that they are trying to make and implement and not support are going to kill Americans. And that's why she is leaving the CDC, because she can no longer stand by and be a part of that. She said she had no direct communication with RFK Jr., but that she, just by the policies that have been laid out since he's taken over, she can't, be a part of that. And so you can look, any of that up on anything. The New York Times did an article on her. I saw her on different, uh, platforms, media platforms. But Dr. Fiona Havers.
Yeah, and there's another one that I follow, and she's not from the CD, and she's not an influencer. That is a former CDC um, employee leaving due to
Yeah, Dr. Fiona Havers is, yes.
yes. So she's definitely not um, I'm trying to find. Yeah, this is her. So I follow Dr. Jessica Nurick, Knurick, and she is a PhD RDN. And she, what I love is she'll listen to clips and then she'll go on and she'll tell you why and how
Yeah.
it's wrong, in a scientific fact. So, and also Jessica Yellen is also good with doing that, but she does all sides of politics, not just medical. Um, but um, women are they're far more understudied than men. We finally came out and we had this big movement, um, you know, where we were rising up and we were standing up and no more, for, any sexual harassment. We finally had, men being held accountable for the things that they had done to women and
Yeah.
suppressed women.
Yeah.
And,
Time's up. Yeah.
um, and, even so now I'm in the phase and we've kind of touched on it, so I'm, menopausal or postmenopausal.
Oh,
Those are all, different things, but we don't have the research on anything that we've had, done through our lives. Like, I mean, you've never gone to a doctor's appointment that's going to talk to you about menopause. Like, no, they don't talk about it. Like now it's coming up more. It comes up more for me because I bring it up.
yeah.
But it wasn't something we learned about. You learn about so not everybody's going to talk about sex ed at home. So that's why school's great because it gives them the whole anatomy and it breaks all that down for them. And then
Yeah.
you're not, so those that aren't informed, I have the conversation.
But that's not in every state.
No, no, it is set by state. You are correct. But those are things as even so just for us, just going back to our times, like those are things that we were, introduced about. Where
Yes.
if you ever watch Thornbirds, she tells him that she's dying because she's been bleeding for a week, but she's having a period and had no idea that she was just having a period,
Yeah.
but she thought she was dying.
Yeah.
But those are just things. Those are areas that are, we have that education, and then once you become adults, you kind of don't have that education. So the same thing is going to go true to your vaccinations, for men or women. Like you don't know what, like I don't know what shots they needed. I went to my pediatrician and trusted my pediatrician to tell me these are the shots
Right.
that your kids need.
Right. Yeah.
And they give you the chart. And you were talking about the chart that's out now. So I did screenshot a chart because they had put it out. I can't remember who did it, and it was on Threads. And I screenshot it. So I had it. So I knew when this was removed off of the CDC, I knew that I could have it and I would know, because there are shots that you're going to continue to need throughout your, like you need your tetanus shot
Yeah.
every, what is it, 10 years?
Yeah. And that comes with other shots.
Yes. And so there's just a lot of different, the meningitis shot was something.
Tetanus.
Yeah. And so the meningitis shot, there's meningitis A and B. And so when our girls were going through, they just had to have one. When Ryan went through, he had to have both. Now I'm sure it's going to change again. The HPV vaccination, that was a big one. And that was one that I was definitely more, concerned about because it was just newer at the time. But all my kids have had it, have now had it. So, I mean, there are just different things. And it's unfortunate that we don't have a website now that you can trust and go to. I wouldn't say go to the government website for them to lead you in the right direction, because you have a very uneducated, unserious person leading that department.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's a place that you can go to. And Jess and I have talked about this several times. There's so much false or misinformation, especially in the health world online.
Yes.
It's bad, and I see something and let's be honest, if something sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Don't think that you're going to go put your lotion on and your cellulite's going to go away, guys. Because I tried it and it doesn't work.
Yeah, be skeptical always. Be skeptical. Approach everything with a skeptical mind.
Yeah. And all your supplements and stuff, like they're not FDA backed. So, and I am a biggest proponent of this because I always like to, cut costs if I can, getting them on Amazon. Um, don't get them on Amazon. Go directly through the company. Because what happens with Amazon is you can end up getting it through a third party and it's not even the right ingredients that's in there. So you're paying for something you could
Right,
be harming yourself and not knowing that you're harming yourself.
right.
So I would encourage you to talk to your doctor if you're looking at changing anything or doing anything. Um, and, get different, look for the bad as well as you're looking for the good. Because, it's easy to bring an argument when you want somebody to say yes to you and why you're saying it. You can always find those, but then you need to also know, no, this is the side effects. This is the bad thing that could happen if you take this and why you shouldn't take this. Um, and so on a thing that's, I guess, really isn't, it isn't political, but for me personally, going through the menopause journey, I started recently, I had an autoimmune diagnosis in 2015. And I just started, like, my hand would just swell up and then it would be fine the next morning. And then my knee, I just had this random stuff. So I did the blood work. My ANA came back, which is how they test for the inflammation. And, based off of that, they're like, okay, you have autoimmune. We don't know. So we're going to monitor. So monitored for the last 10 years. Well, I just went last week and he said, based off the way your blood work is, I don't see that you have an autoimmune. That he's like, and I will tell you guys, the one thing that changed is I did start doing supplements. And by supplements, I meant omega-3, magnesium, because I couldn't sleep. What else do I take? I took the D3. It's the first time, like, my vitamin level, my D3 is, I'm not deficient. I take that. I take, and then HRT. And it is the first time that my blood work came back and there wasn't any flags going off. And it's been that way for the last, it's been that way for the last 6 months because he wanted to do it at a year at 6 months. And I was like, I'm not ready yet. Like, I just got to know. So now I'm comfortable doing it a year. And I really do believe it was menopause. And what happens is our hormones level fluctuates so much that it causes all this inflammation in our bodies. But again, we're not studied. They're not tracking us. And just so you all know, that if you voted for that, like, that's all gone. There's no more studying of the women that we were getting. And those were huge strides that we'd taken.
Right.
So,
Cancer research is gone.
all of it, like,
Yep.
it's
Now
just,
you're going to be able to build your houses with asbestos
yes,
again.
Alzheimer's research gone. And we were
Yep.
making
Yep.
huge strides. Um,
Yep.
and all of that, it's crazy that I had to go through 10 years of my body not being right when, and all, like, and I can't say this, nor will they say this, but I was just getting deficient in estrogen and progesterone. That was really what was causing it. Like, my body reacted to that. Um, and so now that I've done that and I just keep researching and, I was talking to Jess and I think I'm going to save that for later for what I'm looking into doing some peptides and that thing. Once I actually do it and start seeing how I'm feeling, but I'm still not right in my body, even though my blood work came back. Like, I'm still not, like, I have belly fat. I've changed my eating habits. I work out all the time. I walk 15,000 steps a day. Like, I'm doing all the right things. Am I eating completely healthy? No. Like, I could absolutely clean that up. But I also want to live, to be honest. Like, there's things I'm not willing to give up. But, all that I'm seeing and all it's, the lack of estrogen in our body and how our body, reacts to the inflammation and then our liver and the way things process and we don't detoxify and because everything slows down. I just think that there's things that we can be doing to implement and we're not going to have those, like the Alzheimer's, like the peptides are a huge in the research to help with that. And it's not going to get studied anymore unless it's by somebody that's outside. But I mean, we're taking all the money away from Harvard because they say we give them too much money. They do, Harvard, John Hopkins, like, they're doing that research.
Yeah.
And if it's not happening, who's doing it? So when we say,
Right.
everything's going to be fine. We'll get through this. We are not just setting back ourselves 4 years. It's going to be this vast time that we have
Right.
set our, and so many lives lost that didn't need to be lost.
Right. And we talk about America, right, in comparison to other countries. So America always wants to be the leader in everything. We want to be the leader in the military. We want to be the leader in space. We want to be the leader in medical. We want to be the leader in all of these different areas in the workforce, in education. And so what happens when we do this is we set ourselves back and um, we kneecap ourselves really. And so now everybody else is progressing and America is stuck.
Yeah.
And then it takes years to even start programs back up. You don't just start your stuff,
Right.
right? You have to put your teams in place. You have to start with the mechanics. You have to start getting all this stuff. And it takes years to start. And so that's what Marcy means when we say, we're not just set back 4 years, we're set back probably 8 years, honestly, depending on who gets elected
And
gets elected the
that's
next
if they're
time.
trusted. If we're going to be trusted again and we're going to have any, credibility, people
Yeah.
have to understand this is like,
So yeah. So we technology, everything, all of it. We're really putting ourselves behind every other country. Um, and we really destabilized our country by doing all of these things. And it's like nobody looks at it and recognizes it and said, "Hey, stop. We can't do this.
right.
We have to keep being the leader in all of these things and we have to keep up on all of these things." If nothing less, if you don't care about the people, right? And the impacts it has on people who were in the middle of these studies to save their lives, and in the middle of these climate things to save our grandchildren's and our great grandchildren's, earth, and all of these other things that are just obvious. If you don't care about any of that, and you care about competition and where we're at in the world standing,
Yeah.
you think you'd care about that, but they don't even care about that because it's like they don't have the capacity to understand what it all means.
Right. And and just a little bit of, so I just looked because I was curious to see how countries rank for life expectancy because we want to lead everything. Yeah,
Hmm.
we're 48 country for life expectancy, and Hong Kong is the number one, and then Japan, and then South Korea, um, just to give you an idea. And it's a lot of the, then you have French Polynesia, Switzerland, Australia, Italy, Singapore, Spain, and I didn't even know Reunion. Um, these are all countries that lead us significantly. Israel has a higher life expectancy than us. So this is
Well,
why,
they live in war all the time.
yeah, and this is why freaking it matters for us to have, you know, Secretary of Health to be, knowledgeable and save us, and we should care. They should be sounding alarms. Um,
Right.
And you need to advocate for what moves you the most, because there's so many parts that we can't just keep separating ourselves. We need to find the one thing that motivates and moves us the most. Um,
And I'm pretty sure all of those countries have in common social medicine
yeah, the top three
because I think
here.
we, like one other country that maybe one or two other countries don't have social medicine.
Yeah, but we basically had social medicine my whole adult life because we were military. Um,
Right.
it was easy. It wasn't easy in the fact that like when we needed an expert, we had to travel further.
Right.
But
Right.
we didn't have the insurance crap that we have now.
Right.
We have two insurances and we can't get coverage. We're still paying out of pocket. Like it just is like astounding. Um, you know, and I will say what they're doing to the veterans is just like,
Yes.
my husband served and he is veteran, but our family served too. Our family give up a lot. And the
Yes.
fact that you're just dropped, and just like, like our TRICARE insurance sucks. Like, it
Right.
is the bottom of the bottom. Nobody wants to take it because they don't pay anything. And you have to know how to maneuver it. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's all getting, it's just, it's all so much. It's so much. And even on the VA part of it, now that's been totally gutted. Um, the amount of time it takes for a VA to be able to get what they need. Like, Dan lost his shit the other day on the login because they kept changing it and he couldn't. And he's like, Dan is one of the smartest people I know. Like, not patient, but smart. And he was just so infuriated with just being able to get a login. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah, and that's what they do. They wear you down.
they do, so you don't care. And so
Yeah.
I've
So you give up.
submitted all these forms to TRICARE to cover because
Right.
I can't. So, for meds, you have to go to psychiatric. You can't go. So to get the coverage that I needed for, my son, I had to go there. And it's costing us $200 for a 3-minute phone call
Oh my
because I
God.
can't get seen anywhere, and I can't, and this doctor won't prescribe. And I have double insurance, and it's just like, and I file the claim, and then they're like, well, we can't find that provider. And I'm like, it's not, and I'm going round and round and round and round, and it
Right.
isn't about that.
Right.
And I'm educated and I've advocated enough and I know, but they don't want to pay. And at the end of the day, they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay. And
Right.
it's just making it so much harder than it needs to be. And
It's all about the delay. It's all about the delay. It's all about the delay.
that's all of
And
it
they
for
try to wear
delay.
you down. They want you to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, that's what I'll say. It's like without social medicine, I don't know if we can get to a spot of beating some of these countries in life expectancy. I really don't. Because if you don't go to the doctor and you don't do preventative care, or if you don't have the insurance to get, cancer treating drugs and schizophrenia medication and whatever it be, I don't know that we have a
Yeah.
chance.
And it was like, when Trump came out with his executive order about the pricing for the drugs. Again, guys, that's just an executive. It's not a law. So they
Yeah,
can choose not to follow it. It's not something
right.
that, and I haven't heard anything about it. Have you heard anything about it? Because I can tell you Noah's medications, I don't think they've gone down. Um, so that kind of got lost under the radar as well. I mean, so
Well, they're never going to follow anything that says a low or anything. They will follow because he did break the the diabetes medication
yes, well,
that Biden
he
put in place.
President Biden had made the cuts on
Right,
the generic
right,
one for Medicaid or Medicare. I can't remember. And
right,
Trump
right.
then came in and said, nope, we're not doing that. I'm like,
Yeah. For what
why
reason?
would we not
For
do
what
that?
reason? It never,
Right.
it didn't cost us
Right.
anything.
And then he came
And
back
so
and he
then
said,
that
for
went into,
everybody, because our country is overpriced compared to other countries, and we're not going to do it. And I'm like,
yeah, it cost them like $1 to make it and they're charging whatever.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So again, like, I don't know. I don't know. Again, we're just at a loss. So
Yeah, it's just another week of, um,
hate to say it, but
another
don't
week of
trust your
fun here
government.
in the United States.
I hate to say
Yeah, I
that.
don't know. I don't know what to deem of it, but Marcy has a fun trip planned, so I can't wait to hear about that when you come back.
Hopefully, it's not really a good time to
Hopefully you
travel.
don't get detained. Wipe your wipe your text messages from me because you will get detained.
Well, funny that you bring that up because I'm really worried. I think I should take all my social media off my phone. And he's like, why? We're going to a different country, but it's a safe country. And um, I go, I'm not
No,
worried.
it's not about that
I go, I'm
country.
not worried about that country. I go, I'm worried about when I come back in because they can confiscate my
Yes.
phone.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I'm going to remove all my social media when I go,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
just because I mean, can't imagine. I didn't do anything, so I can't imagine. There's nothing illegal. I haven't said anything. I haven't.
No, no, you're not doing anything illegal, but it's like the memes we share back and forth that we think are
Yeah,
hilarious. It's the texts or whatever that we think are hilarious or whatever. It's like, you know, are they going to be able to charge you with anything or whatever? No, but could they make your life miserable for 24 to 48 hours? Yes.
and tell me that I'm not a U.S. citizen and put me in a detention center to figure it out. With my
Even though you're going to
passport.
have a passport on you. Yeah. You're going to say, we see that your maiden name is Herrera.
Yeah. See,
They're going to Cheech and
I
Chong
thought
your
that
ass
was a
and put
good
you in
thing
the
that I
car.
kept that as my middle name. Now I need to wipe it.
Now you have problems. Um, so yeah, I am excited for your trip and to hear about it because I think that's going to be a really nice place to visit. So
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah, and then we'll just try to survive another week, and that's all we can do.
Yep. Keep surviving.
One day at a time,
I will
guys.
survive. Keep singing that song.
Yeah.
All right. Stay safe. Keep using your voice.
Stay sane. All right.
See you soon.
Bye, guys.